body back and forth. Move my 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 body back.
I love that right at the end. Available now. That's great words. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ty from AGI Pro DJ. I am joined today by Jake from Denon DJ. Jake, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing well, Ty. How's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. So we are talking today about the brand new Denon DJ PRIME4 Plus. And as the end of the video clip just said, available now, ready to ship. It's in stock. I love show and ships. They're my favorite.
Agreed.
Yep. So, well, let's just dive right into it, Jake. There's a few differences between the PRIME4 and the PRIME4 Plus, and I think we probably should touch on why we had the model change and there's a few subtle differences, but I think there's a couple pretty big differences. So, Jake, I'm gonna let you take over and walk us through the differences with the PRIME4 Plus over the original PRIME4.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing everybody will notice is that the colorway is different. So it's very much inspired of that progression we're taking with the Denon DJ aesthetic. The SC6000 was has that sleek blacked out look with the buttons and the slits and things like that. So that's kind of the look. We took the PRIME4 Plus. So the first thing we wanted to do was give it a fresh new aesthetic. The PRIME4 was already a solid performer for us and a very nice piece of equipment overall. So we just want to take the look to, modernize it a bit. So what we did is you'll notice it's matte black now instead of shiny gloss black in the corners. And so we took off some of the graphics just to streamline it a bit. The Q buttons you'll see here are, as I mentioned, they're a lot like the Prime Go. It's and the SC6000, LC6000. They're blacked out with the light slit coming through, and they are still RGB. So if you're changing your cue point colors and things like that, it will show up on the pads. And then just overall, with a lot of the other backlit buttons, we made them less bright, unless we've heard less Christmas tree, and so that's what we did. And the other big change is that the Plus. So the Plus, we've kind of followed that naming convention with our other brands like the Mixstream Pro Plus, and what the Plus adds is ability to stream from Amazon Music Unlimited. So that's a hardware change that it needs a special chip inside to meet the kind of the DRM requirements of Amazon. And so That's why we can offer it on new gear and say we can't offer it on a Prime 4 because that's actual hardware change. And the last big hardware change to the Prime 4 Plus, I mean, you'll see the dimensions are the same, fits in the same cases and things like that, but we switched out the wheels. So the wheels have less of a taper than the Prime 4. So the Prime 4 originally had a little bit more of a steep sides, or less steep sides, I guess you'd say. So the touch surface was a little bit smaller than this. So just by increasing or decreasing the taper, we were able to add about 10% more touch surface while still keeping, you know, the center display and the LED ring around the outside and things like that. That's, hardware.
Cool. And then alongside, obviously just a few days ago, you guys launched Engine 3.1.
Yeah, for sure. Engine 3.1 was a big release for us across all the Engine DJ hardware. And so one of the coolest things it added was just a slew of additional effects. I believe the original Prime 4 had about 14 main effects. The 3.1 update upped that to 26 main effects, and then a bunch of touch effects. So let me just zoom in on my screen. We can go over just a few of those. All right, so what touch effects does, let me navigate back out of this so you can see how I got there. So we've got, you know, our tracks lined up. I've got this interview going into this. That's why it's a line in, but I have tracks loaded up here. Now, when I engage touch effects, it's a nice display with effects selected in the corner. So we have multiple touch effects that alter. Each one of these is a different option for the X-axis and the Y-axis. So, you know, like a filter gate would do high or low pass filter if you're on the Y-axis. And then as you move from left to right, that changes the beat division. So what's also really cool about this is you can change the deck that you're applying the effect to and have visual representation of the waveform. So right now, if I want to play it on deck 3, so I can either, you know, play it live like an instrument, like the old, I remember the old Korg Chaos pads, so similar to that, or you can latch it on. There's a latch option in the corner, and then it's just, so you can latch it on, and then on all options, you can change the resonance on the bottom. So yeah, just a couple more, like things like a filter roll, give you a little more tactile. And then what's also really nice, I like about the waveform, is you can play it live, but you can also still see where your drops are. So you can see the upcoming points in the waveform. You can see all your cue points and things like that. So that is touch effects. And another thing I want to show and mention, let me get back to this other view, is on the Prime 4 Plus, with 3.1, we have the touch effects. We have 26 main effects, which are controlled in these effects engines, and we have 4 of the sweep effects. But what you can also do is you can combine them all. So you could do, you know, a wash out after you're doing some touch effects, and then do a post fader, drop the fader out, and then pitch down the tail of that washout echo. So you can combine, I did the math, it's like, I actually didn't do the math, but I would say it's like hundreds of thousands of different effects combinations by combining these 3 different effects engines on your tracks.
Nice. Yeah, I really like the touch effects engine. It's like you said, it kind of reminds you of that old Chaos pad feel, but
yeah,
there's so much more visual feedback in the Prime 4 Plus in the engine software. Like you said, you've got the waveform preview, the nice big giant resonance slider. So you're not just doing it blind, right?
Yeah, and the nice thing too, there's additional, you know, as you're going with 4 decks, maybe you have some crazy mixing going on. You're latching something on, and say you navigate back to your library view. There's visual representation that you have a touch effect engaged because that icon, as you can see, is kind of doing the little blinky thing. So then you know, oh, I've got touch effects going. You know, I need to latch that off or whatever. So yeah, really cool. The touch effects are a lot of fun, and there are a lot of combinations there.
Right.
And like I said, the ability to latch it on, I was just playing around with it, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. you can use, if you wanted to do like a little scratching back and forth, you can latch on your echo, and then as you're doing your performance, tap and change the resonance and change the timing, and just have some options at your fingertips. There are more options than, you don't have to keep your finger on the screen and be engaged. You can just tap throughout your mix to kind of switch up the effect.
Nice. Jake, while you've got it on this view, how do you change the views to have like the 2 waveforms and then 4 waveforms side by side?
Yeah. So in any view, you can just you can't see, but right below the screen there's a view button. So that switches back to a library view. But if you want to switch out your actual waveform views, you just hold shift. There's a shift button on either deck. And then you can tap through the different waveform views. So there's a 4-deck stacked horizontal, which is rare. And then you can switch back to, library in the middle with the 4 decks. And then when you have your 2-deck modes, like for example, this is a stacked 2-deck, but it'll only highlight the engaged deck for the stack. And the same thing, there's a vertical 2-deck mode too. And then another thing that kind of threw me for a loop until I became more comfortable with the PRIME4 Plus is, you only have 2 decks loaded. You're probably if you're like, why don't I see 4 decks waveforms, is because you only have 2 tracks loaded. So you may see like just 2 decks and wonder what's going on. And it's not until you load another track to either side decks is when it kind of opens up the 4-deck view the first time you may power it on and play around with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So cool. We can just hit a couple of I can show you just a couple of the new effects, the main effects with the effects engine. If that works, Ty.
Sure. Yeah, go for it, man.
I kind of have my favorites. I'm a little so I spent a lot of time on the Rain 4 and I fell in love with a lot of those effects. And the nice thing is that we brought a lot of those to the PRIME4 Plus. So I'm a sucker for like the scale down and pitch down. Like that's one of my Actually, let me switch the view. And what's really cool about that is you can change all the different beat divisions for like a slower mix down. And as I mentioned before, layering it with, like, say, let's do the wash sweep effect. And for those that aren't familiar with sweep effects, those are knob controlled effects.
Right.
And post fader. So I mean, I caught that very tail end of it, but so you can even do your main effects, as I mentioned, on the tail end of your sweep effects. So pitch down's a great one, and the stutter out is really cool too. And that gives you, I think, 13 different options for that, kind of like that repeat. Another fan favorite from the Rain 4. And there are things like there's a reverb rise, which adds kind of like a predetermined build up, and you can set your beats. Right now it's set to 8, but if I engage it, you kind of hear that ramp up. It's like adding a sweep, in Ableton or something when you're producing like a remix. But you can change the pump rate so it gives it some emphasis on, like, say, we'll do it like a pump rate 1/2. So another really cool, unique effect that I think will really come in handy, because then you can just set it for 16 beats and then wait for, before the drop and just engage it.
Right.
Yeah, so just a few. I mean, there are 26 of them. And what's really nice is with the 3.1 update, we added this frequency knob here. So you can actually tailor each effect. By default, when you load up one of the main effects, it is across all frequency bands. But if you have an echo or like that pitch down effect, and you say, I only want to, pitch down the bass, you can adjust your frequency knob. And so whatever this is set to, like this says less than 600 hertz. Then whenever you engage the effect, it's only affecting those frequencies. And then everything above 600 hertz is playing normally. So you can, have some fun with that and remix tracks and things like that. So another nice feature, just tap the reset button. It goes back to all bands and you're back to normal.
You can just go bananas with the effects on this.
Yeah, I mean, really cool. And there are the 2 effects engines. So you've got, you can assign 1 or 2. And then for the touch effects, again, you can assign with the touch button there.
Nice.
Cool.
Real quick, while we have a little pause, a natural pause here, just wanted to thank everybody for all your questions. We'll get to the Q&A towards the end. We're going to let Jake kind of go through the engine overview, and then we'll circle back around and get some questions answered. So thank you, everybody, for those. Keep those coming, and we will circle back around to a little Q&A here at the end.
Cool. Well, I do have a couple of things to show that I think are nice improvements to engine. And one thing that is, I was spoiled when I was playing with the Rain 4 because of the heads-up displays, and so I could see what my cue points were and my loop divisions and beat divisions. So we've added those to, and this was actually in the 3.0 update for engine. We've added those to the screen, so you have the performance pad displays, which is great. I didn't name any of these cue points, so you just see Q1, Q2, but you could name your custom cue points to the drop or whatever. But where they really come in handy are when it comes to the sampler. So the engine brought the very first embedded sampler to a standalone device. And so what's really cool about that is I can just load a track. So like I have this impact here. I just go to load it, and then I can see I can load to any of the 4 decks. I can't load to this one because that's where I'm listening to Ty. But then I can just pick like, oh, I want to load in this sample slot. All these bottom 8 spots are embedded sample slots. So I'm going to replace this snare clap with that impact. And so now it's in my sample slot. And let me just switch the view. So now to access the sampler, all I have to do is double tap the roll pad mode. And before I do that, you can also route the sampler now. So before it could just go over the main out, but you can also route it to one of your channels now. So I've got this actually routed to channel 2. So I'm going to double tap roll. There it is. And there was my impact that I added. And then you can also, what's nice when you route it to the channel, you can add your effects to it. So you got your sweep effects work on it, your touch effects would work on it, and then your main effects would also work on the samples. And then of course you can control the volume with your volume fader, and you have EQ control. So you have that option, or if you don't want to, take up a channel with it, you can just route it to the main, and then you have a sample volume slider directly on your touch screen. So if you just wanted to have it always on for your drops, basically, you can just set it to the main out, and then just double tap the roll mode to access it, and then fire off your samples at any time. Really cool.
So your sample bake, can you basically load that up like a full drum pad?
Yeah, you can. You can load up full drum pad, and you can also just load up full tracks. So if you wanted to be doing like you're doing an event or something, and I'm sure you've probably done weddings where everybody wants to do they think they're really clever with their introductions, and every single couple that you're doing the bride up introductions has like a skit to a different song. And it's a nightmare, to play them all. Now you can just if a situation like that comes up, you can actually load those full tracks to each sample slot, and then just fire them off. Bam, bam, bam.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's really cool like that, and it also does have with the update, you have not only do you get the sampler, but you get a content of preloaded, drums and hits and sound effects and scratch noises and air horns and things like that are already preloaded when you fire up Engine DJ. So yeah, really cool.
Lazy man's content.
Yep,
people love it.
It's free. Yeah, those are the kind of the big key features. The one that I can't show you because it's more done on Engine DJ desktop is the addition of Smart Lists. So that is criteria-based playlists that are automatically generated. So it's kind of you're probably familiar with the concept. It's, you put like an if-then type rules and older than this date and include this keyword, and then what happens once you set that, every time you add tracks to your library, if they meet that criteria, they fill that list, you export it to your hard drive and you pop it in here, or your flash drive, and then they are pre-populated. And the other thing I can't show because I'm using the computer to stream with is we have Engine Remote Library. And what's really cool with that is if you're just playing around or have it in, your studio, when you go to your source list, you would see, right now I see my SD card and the sampler content that's preloaded, but you would also see your computer. It would say Jake's MacBook Pro, and then I could wirelessly connect to that and play from that engine library, just like it was a USB drive. So in a way, it's a whole another way to access your library. Even at a gig, you could play that way, but mainly it's really useful for song prep, going through your cue points and things like that,
Right.
and practice and creating your playlist. So it's really neat.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I think that's pretty much all of the 3.1 highlights, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yep, we still
And
have
then of course you go ahead.
I was gonna say we still have the engine lighting, which is one of my favorites, and that's
Yep.
that's already included. DMX,
Your nano leaves behind you.
nano leafs. Yeah, I have the Philips Hue connected
Okay.
right now, but the nano leafs do work as well. But yeah, I got my Philips Hue on. So yeah, really cool. And that the launch video that we played at the beginning, that was actually all programmed with SoundSwitch on that. We had four pieces of that mix, 4 stems, if you will, and we programmed SoundSwitch and attached it to the drum line, or the drum sequence. So when we were filming that video, it was consistent every time because the triggers were based on the actual audio track. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, in addition to the cue and the nano leaf, you also get full SoundSwitch control, and that's
Yeah, very cool. It's because we had what did we have? They weren't the Astera tubes, but they were like a different version of that. We had 2 different brands we were working with, and as long as we had the in SoundSwitch, you can find almost any fixture, and so we just found those fixtures, made a scene with it, and then we had complete control over DMX. It was really cool.
right. Does the PRIME4 Plus is it a SoundSwitch unlock device?
Well, you need the dongle, so you have to get the dongle and then have your subscription.
And then the subscription. Okay, that was my question. Is it a subscription unlock? So,
yeah,
okay, cool.
there's almost all the engine hardware you get. If you open up the box, there's usually a SoundSwitch free trial that you can do.
Nice.
But so you will need the dongle for DMX, and that's just a little USB dongle. But for Philips Hue and Nanoleaf, you don't need any sort of
it's all
dongle.
built in.
Yep, it's all wireless.
Yeah. It just picks up the hubs.
Yep, it connects to the hub. If you're on the same Wi-Fi, it just connects to the hub, and then you have complete wireless control.
Nice. Anything else we want to touch on with the Plus or the engine update?
I think we covered I think we covered the engine update. We do have, upcoming. It's already been talked about a bit, but we have a couple of cool features coming out this summer, and we're adding Bluetooth, and a big one is the day mode. And so that's inverted color. It's really handy for like the Mixstream Pro Go that's meant to go outside because it's battery powered. So it inverts the colors and it makes it really easy to see in the daylight. So that's coming. And the Bluetooth is a nice feature. Now piggyback on that, and this is a PRIME4 feature, but I think it's worth talking about. But the dedicated zone out is a really cool feature for like working DJs, because now that we're adding a Bluetooth in, what you can do with that zone out, if you didn't want to take up one of your decks for like a separate cocktail hour playlist in a different area, you could Bluetooth in a playlist and send it out to a dedicated output to that cocktail hour room.
Oh, that's cool.
And then also in Engine DJ, in the settings, you can even set your mic to just be dedicated to that cocktail area, so you can have complete control over 2 zones with the dedicated zone out, which is super cool. And if you didn't use the Bluetooth with that, you can still load up a playlist on deck 4, start the playlist, you can set the fade time and everything, and just send that whole playlist over to that dedicated zone out, and you can continue to do your thing on the dance floor or the main room or whatever.
Nice. Yeah, the for people that don't know, the output section of the PRIME4 is huge. It's
yeah, it's ridiculous.
All XLR, master, booth, and then I love the zone output. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there are 6, 3 pairs of XLR outs, one for zone, one for booth, one for main. Main also has RCAs. And then the mixer section itself has 4 pairs of RCA inputs.
Right.
2 of which are switchable to line phono, the rest are line. So yeah, you can plug in so many sources into this thing.
Well, and you said you have me routed in on channel 4. Yeah, I see the VD meter popping. So.
I got you right here. Yeah.
Nice.
That's when I do these. It's like the best way to do it. I run the mic into the mic section. I run the, the audio from whoever I'm speaking to into the queue. So I have you queued up. And then, I just run the audio out to a USB box to the computer. So it's pretty handy.
Nice.
And then I can also route my audio of the mic to my headphones, or I can turn it off if I wanted to.
Oh, very cool. And then, so I think you just said this, you can route where the mic goes also, like you can keep it out of the zone, you can keep it out of the booth, correct?
Yep, correct. Yeah, there's a lot of options. If anybody's new to the world of Engine DJ, there are so many options in the menu. Yep. I mean, you can change everything. And the one thing that, because I came from a very traditional DJ background, turntables and mixers, rain mixers and things like that. But when I found out you can like do things like even change your deck color, and like I'll change this one to yellow, even the Q button changes to represent yellow. So everything is aligned to whatever you assign your deck. The ring changes. If I was in touch effects, that color would change. But little things like that are really smart when it comes to keeping your workflow straight, especially when you're going across 4 channels.
Keep organized on the fly. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's so many options. If you're new to Engine, spend some time on a device, and you can totally customize it to your liking, and then save it to your USB drive. So if you pull up on somebody else's PRIME4 Plus, you can tap in, put your USB in there, and load your profile. Then all your presets carry over to the new hardware.
Your settings move. Very cool. LC6000s and SC6000s can also be connected, correct?
Yeah. Yep. I was gonna actually hook up LC6000, but I didn't have enough room. So just trust me, it does work. What happens when you hook up an LC6000 to the USB? It automatically takes over the outside 2 channels, so you have hardware control over the all 4 channels at once, all 4 decks. And what's really cool about the PRIME4 Plus is that the aesthetic matches. So the wheels match now, so that these are smaller, but they look exactly the same as the LC in style.
And you can hook 2 of them up, right? One for each side.
Yep. Yeah.
Or if you just do one, you can toggle back and forth, can't you?
Yeah, you can deck select on it. Yep. Same thing if you wanted to hook up. I was going to say Rain 12, but we'll have support for that later. You'd probably be better off with the LC6000 because of the form factor. But yeah, you can select one of 4 decks on that LC, and then just use it to, say you want the bigger jog wheel or scratcher or something, you can put it on the left side and just jump decks on it.
Well, I'm going to ask you about this since you brought it up, even though you probably don't want me to. So Rain 12 support's coming later?
Well, so Rain 12 is a Serato supported device. So when Serato support is added to this, Rain 12 will naturally work as a Serato controller. So
do you want to talk about things that are in beta right now, or do we want to leave that alone?
I mean, we're happy to talk about it. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. We've been discussing it because we're just so excited about it. But so we are bringing stems to the PRIME4 Plus, and why that's a big deal. It's the first time, you don't have to have a laptop to DJ with stems. And so in its current form, you've probably seen the media reviews. We've provided them with an early build with a bunch of information about what to expect, and we wanted to get it out there. That was almost like that first build was like a proof of concept. You can actually make this happen on a standalone, and it's already in a pretty good spot. I mean, it's still needs some more polishing, obviously, but that's why we would even call it an alpha build. It's like even before beta.
Right. It seemed like it was an alpha build for sure.
Yeah, but it showed the concept is solid, and depending on the track you play, I mean, that's the same thing with stems with any setup. Some tracks stem out really well. Some are a challenge, and that's where the refinement comes in place, is getting those ones that have kind of a little bit of the overlapping frequencies to stem out nice and clear. So that first build had it like on 1 deck only, and it had instrumental and acapella. And at the tap of a screen, you can turn one or the other off. And like I said, proof of concept. The good news with that is we're opening up a public beta for PRIME4 Plus users this summer with the build. Cool. And so PRIME4 Plus users this summer, I can't give you an actual date other than it should be 2023 summer. We'll have a beta program. And that, just check the Denon DJ socials and the Engine forum. And then if somebody has a PRIME4 Plus and wants to be involved in the beta, they can grab a build there when it's available.
Nice. Looks like we got company.
You said the word stems and I appeared.
I said it's like stems like Beetlejuice. There you show up. How you doing, Mojaxx? Nope. Is he out? Oh, hang on. No, he's muted. Hang on.
He stemmed.
That's me.
He stemmed
Oh,
himself
God damn
out.
it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was. Yeah, what happened there? Yeah, you call my name, you call Stems, and I appear because Stems is life. I didn't think I cared about Stems. I was,
Sorely
like
mistaken.
when you get things wrong. We all get things wrong in life. I got Stems wrong, but I didn't get it. I was so cynical. I was like, this is never going to happen. It's never going to be good. No one's ever going to care. I'm never going to use it. Nah, game changer, life changer.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, and to have it on hardware, even in this rough state it's in now, on the Prime 4 Plus, is like mind blowing. Actually,
Right.
blew my beans. I was like, what is happening here? Like, how is this a thing? So
Well,
yeah.
and everybody was like, that'll never happen on standalone, right? Like that was.
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean, I just didn't think it was possible with this generation at all.
Right.
I didn't think anything had the hardware under the hood for it, and so yeah, it's so impressive, and just it may never be an absolute match for the very best software, on an M2 Mac level stems, but it can be good enough, and that's what I've learned with Serato stems in the past 6-8 months, is that actually a lot of the time good enough is good enough.
Right.
With stems, because
Yep.
a lot of the time when we do these demos and so on, you're completely isolating something like the vocal, and it sounds garbage. But then when you're actually performing as a DJ in real life, you're running that vocal over the instrumental from another track, and that hides a lot of
It
bad
hides
things.
a lot of the garbage.
Yeah, and it because there's so much else going on. So yeah, I'm just I wasn't expecting that on the Prime 4 Plus. The Prime 4 Plus was, until that point, this is a cool piece of hardware. It's a nice revision. That's about it. Like, it's just a Prime 4, but a little bit better, which is, that's great. Prime 4 is already fantastic. But as soon as they mentioned the stems thing, I was like, whoa, boy, here we go.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very glad that's come along, and yeah, to have that in such a powerhouse device as the Prime 4 Plus is. I mean, it's funny that I've rethought the Prime 4 and the Prime 4 Plus. I've reassessed those off the back of the Rain 4, which obviously dropped a few months back now. Because I was always like, oh, this Prime 4 is so big. It's such a beast. I'm not going to take it anywhere. It's far too big for me to carry around.
It's huge.
I'm not going to do that. And then the Rain 4 comes out, and I'm like, taking
Also.
that to gigs. Like, that's in some respects bigger than the Prime 4. And I'm like, so now I'm reassessing the Prime 4 and the 4 Plus, going, hang on a minute, I've got the same size here as the Rain 4.
Yeah, it's a beast. That's a big controller.
It is a big boy. And so the idea now, I could take out the Prime 4 Plus and have everything built into it. I don't even need a laptop alongside it. It's made me reassess, I have to say. And since the Prime 4 came out in 2018? When did that drop? A long time ago now.
Yeah,
End of
4 years
18.
ago.
Yeah, like when that came out, since then, I know a lot of DJs who use the Prime 4. It's their go-to. And part of the reason is, because it is, all right, it is big, but you don't need a computer.
Correct.
You need one, like, soft case or hard case. That's your whole setup. If you use the internal SSD bay, you don't even need a USB stick with you. It's literally that and your headphones, and you are good to go. And there's a lot to be said for that kind of all-in-one simplicity. And I think I've made pretty obvious, I'm not generally an all-in-one kind of person. I like modularity. I like switching out different mixers because I'm blessed to have lots of different mixers and what have you. But if I was looking to buy something for myself, I think that all-in-one route it's a smart, sensible route for a lot of people. I'm sure, Tyler, you find that in the store, right? Like would you say that's a really kind of common thing that people want these days?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of ride or die Serato guys, right? And they'll never give up their laptop. They'll never get up their Serato. That's where their library sits. That's where home base is. But there's a lot of pros to not having to pack that laptop around with you And then again, you're removing one more fail point. So
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
clean, compact, and this, like you
Yeah.
said, it's a big controller, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of control, a lot of outputs.
Yeah, it's so comprehensive from that point of view, and like with the zone output as well. Like I only ever think of the zone output as the zone output, but actually it's not. Like if you don't want to set it up as a zone, it's just another output.
Full blown output. Yep.
It's another full on output that you can use for anything that you want to do with it. So
Right.
you know, it adds that extra. And we've all seen, you know, as much as I'm a fan of the competition, their attempt at a zone output on a recent piece of hardware was not. It wasn't anything like as good as the one that Denon did on the PRIME4 years ago. So, yeah,
Right.
that's a great. And I know so many like wedding DJs and so on. They're doing these extra rooms now. They're doing the ceremony room or the entryway and the lounge and all that kind of stuff. And they want to run a separate playlist like that. So again, you don't need a separate computer for that. You just need a long XLR cable.
You don't even need that, Mojaxx. You just use one of our wireless speaker systems. Come on.
There you go. I'm behind on the PA tech. I'm behind on that.
Well, the other thing I think we should talk about with the standalone, and Kevin just poked me with this, is streaming, right? All the streaming access that you have access to with Engine.
Yeah, let's just look at the screen here. So we go browse what we have available. Let me go to the best first. BeatSource.
To give you some more room.
Yeah, I mean,
there we go.
Yeah, BeatSource first, and then the plus though I have to mention Amazon Music Unlimited because of the DRM chip. We can do that. But yeah, look at all these. You got Amazon Music, Beatport, BeatSource, SoundCloud, Go Plus, Tidal. Then you have your Dropbox, which is actually really handy.
Amazing.
Yeah, it syncs right up to your library. And when I was programming that light show that I mentioned for that video we did, I was able to make changes in SoundSwitch to the track, save it, export it via Dropbox, and then I could, play it with it in real time on the PRIME4 Plus to make sure that the lighting cues were on. Super handy for that stuff. And then I mentioned earlier, you have the Engine Remote library. I don't have it popped up here because the laptop's over here, but that would show Jake's MacBook Pro, and that would be my entire Engine library available over Wi-Fi on the PRIME4 Plus. So yeah, I love the streaming capability, and I think a lot of people are still scared about streaming, but the thing is it buffers in when you load. So as long as you have enough of a connection or strong enough connection to wait 30 seconds on a poor connection, you're golden.
On a bad connection.
Yeah,
right.
On a bad, I'm talking like super bad cell phone hotspot connection.
Because most LTE hotspots are super fast.
Yeah, super fast. I mean, I won't play it for rights, but
Yep.
So like if we'll just pop one on, and I'm in my shed. Like this is a shed, literal shed I'm in. So like they're that loaded. So and then you play it right away, but then the rest of the track builds. Right. And then also it gets beat gridded there. So then whatever I have connected to the lighting, it will those auto loops is what we call them with engine lighting, SoundSwitch. It'll automatically hit on the beat cue. So it'll change color to the beat, change brightness to the beat, and then go through different loops like that. So yeah, streaming is awesome.
You just mentioned that buffering. You can start playing the track before it's completely loaded.
Yeah, you'll see it kind of builds that initial quick little waveform, and then it builds the rest of the track. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, like, that's something that kind of, I know you've kind of gone over the lighting stuff already, but I don't think I ever did a video talking about that last update to SoundSwitch, because it was only really one new feature that came in there, and that was the new auto loops in there. But those are fantastic. Like, it now custom builds auto loops according to your own light show that you have, your own fixtures and stuff. And that is, I was always a, build your light show automatic in the, let it do it, but do it for every track. I spent hours and hours and hours just sitting with SoundSwitch in the background analyzing my music, and now I'm like, I don't really need to bother because the auto loops are so good and they're tailored to whatever setup I've got going on. So actually, that was a massive update for Engine, and I'm so glad that came along. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, to be honest, I'm currently playing with, so I won't say who it's from right now, but I'm playing with a lighting control setup from a European brand, and it's an iPad app and all that kind of stuff. And it's reminding me just why I love SoundSwitch so much, because like programming chases and stuff. It's like a massive pain in the ass. Like, it's
It's
such
no
a
fun.
I mean, it does
It's no
work.
fun.
Like, it works, but like it
Sure,
takes so long to do.
it does.
And SoundSwitch kind of spoilt me because I got into lighting through SoundSwitch, and SoundSwitch makes lighting so accessible and so simple and straightforward.
Yep.
And it taught me a lot of stuff along the way. Like I learned things, about DMX and so on. But actually, it is far superior to any other solution out there. Like anything else that I've tried. If you really want the deepest manual control, then sure, you can get yourself a big desk or a deep app and do all that kind of stuff. But for DJing, I don't think there's anything comes close to SoundSwitch. Nothing. And obviously, and engine lighting, because it's built into the engine hardware as well, which is, again, quite a phenomenal thing that I kind of forget about at times. It's like, oh yeah, this is in here. I just kind of assume it's there. It's like, oh, I turn on a piece of engine hardware. There's engine lighting. There it goes. Done. Like it's. I think that's really what the engine ecosystem is excelling at right now. Is just stuff is just there and it just works.
It just works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're really good at UI design also, right? Like the UI and the user experience is exactly what you'd expect from a tablet-based experience. So
yeah. And Ableton Link. I was thinking about Ableton Link recently as well, and I was thinking I might get an Akai MPC, the red one. What's that called, Jake?
Is it the one?
The One Plus.
MPC
Yeah,
One
something
Plus.
like
Red. I just want because it's red.
One.
And I'm thinking, hang on, I could Ableton Link that up to the engine gear and fully just sync that up and like drop drum loops over the top. Oh, so we might talk about that offline. But all of that is in engine as well. You've got Ableton Link, so you can link it up to anything you want. You can synchronize it with someone else's Serato setup over Wi-Fi if you wanted. You can sync it up with someone's live production gear if they're using Ableton Live or anything with Ableton Link in it. Like it's all in there. Like engine is so deep, and I just think I kind of forget that at times. It's like there's so much here.
Jake, with SoundSwitch on engine, can you actually save the looks and the scene in the Prime, or do you have to do it all ahead of time?
So you can do some overrides and save it, I believe. Now, don't quote me on this.
That's okay.
On your flash drive because what you do is if you're doing a full DMX show, you're gonna have your fixtures and your whole SoundSwitch export on a flash drive, because that's gonna tell the PRIME4 Plus what fixtures you have. And I believe you can do some changes that will save to the track, like if you want to change things there. But for the most part, you need to do that on SoundSwitch desktop. Mojaxx might have even more insight. But you can, when you add your static looks, that's that screen I was on with all the grids. That you can export to your drive. And then when you're on your PRIME4 Plus, a lot of DJs I've seen use it for, like, say, your cold sparks triggers. So you can do that straight from your PRIME4 Plus. You can set a static look, and pretty much what a static look is you have all your fixtures, and say your tracks are auto scripted and auto looped, and you're doing your thing. You have one scene where it's like, okay, for this one, I want everything to be blue on my up lights, 50% dim, and the spotlights, and moving heads to be on the dance floor in white. You can save that as a static look, and then you can recall it at any time by pressing that button.
Yeah, I think the key is, if you're doing DMX, you need the software. You've got to do your work in there, because you have to build your fixtures out. You have to get everything mapped correctly in all your positions and all those sort of extra factors. So that's definitely going to be a thing. But yeah, like in terms of using it, if you're just using it with smart lighting, you don't ever need to open the SoundSwitch software ever. Like, you just use the auto loops, especially with Nanoleaf. Like the Philips Hue integration was cool. And I did enjoy that, but Nanoleaf is like better because it does more chases and stuff in the Nanoleaf. Right. So like if you're looking for a home streaming kind of lighting setup with engine, absolutely go Nanoleaf every time, because it looks so good. I have it in the background in all my streams now, and it just looks really, really solid. And again, it just does it. It just works. It connects over Wi-Fi. Click, done. And you don't even need the SoundSwitch software for engine lighting in that situation. Yeah, if you want to go DMX, of course, you're going to need it. But like for smart lighting, it's so simple, so straightforward.
Cool.
Jake, do we want to paw through some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so now this was in reference, we were talking about the Amazon streaming. Does that give you licensed music?
Next question.
Fully
No.
licensed.
so Amazon Music. So is the question, can you play license? So
well, being as is it licensed to play? So.
Well, I mean, you can play it. The limitation with Amazon Music is that only 2 tracks at once, and that was a Amazon Music requirement. So that's a licensing restriction that they asked, and we obliged. So 2 tracks at once on Amazon, but you can still mix in other media sources and streaming partners at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would suspect most of the people watching this are probably, working DJs. They know what's up. But it's important to be clear, because obviously there was another streaming integration on another product released this week, and there was someone asked in the comments, they were like, I've read the terms and conditions and it says you don't have the rights to use this streamed music for public performance. You don't have that right. And I think some people don't understand that's never been the case. When you buy a record or you buy a CD from a store, you don't buy the rights to perform with that record in public.
The license is separate.
Licensing is run by the licensing organizations in each country around the world. They're all different. It's PRS in the UK. I think it's ASCAP in the US, right? And
ASCAP,
so,
BMI.
Yeah. So all of those, every country has its own rights societies that venues have to pay in
Correct.
order to be able to play music in public. You, as a DJ, as a consumer, as someone who's streaming or buying music, are not buying the right to play that music in public. That's it. So
and to earn with the music. It's
exactly.
a venue responsibility.
Exactly. That's the venue's responsibility. In almost every country, I'm sure there's probably some countries out there where it's the DJ's responsibility to buy a license for that or whatever. But as a rule, every service, so the terms of service from Amazon, Beatport, BeatSource, SoundCloud, Tidal, whoever, or the iTunes store or anywhere, you are not buying the rights to perform with that music. And that's the same for every music source, every piece of vinyl that's in my collection, everyone that's behind you guys there. By buying that record, you don't have the rights to play it in public. That's a separate issue. So as much as I do think Amazon streaming is whack because you can only play 2 tracks at once, their licensing is no different from any other service. It's the same. Right. You're buying exactly the same rights over that music. So cool. I think that's maybe the confusion comes because people read those terms and they're like, "Oh, this means I can't ever play this record." No, it's just the same as everything else.
Yep. So. If Denon should make a motorized jog wheel version, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. Is that touchable, Jake?
Well, we do have a 6000M.
Yeah.
But we're talking all in one, I'm assuming.
Right.
So how about you could buy a PRIME4 Plus and a 6000M and have both? Best of both worlds. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
It would just be so big.
It'd be large.
Could you imagine? It would be huge, and it would weigh a ton.
Like the Rain 1, combine the Rain 1 with the PRIME4 Plus. That's a big, big boy. That is a big boy, and I'm not sure at that point the convenience factor. I could be proved wrong in the future. I've been proved wrong on things before, but that would be with a big screen as well. You'd want the 10-inch screen at least.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big boy at that point, and it's feasible. And if the demand's there, I'm sure that Denon will look at it. But it's a big boy. It's a practicality thing in a lot of ways.
Jake Ramon had asked, we were going through your effects overview. Do you guys do all those in house? Do you guys license them?
Yeah. So no, we have since InMusic has a bunch of different brands. We use effects are from AIR. We have different engineers that do effects work across all our brands. We've got Akai we were talking about, Alesis,
right.
And so we do leverage our assets internally to make these effects and bring them across, different platforms. So, yeah, they're ours.
Nice when you own multiple brands that you can share R&D technology across the platforms.
Yep.
Will the original PRIME4 benefit from stem mixing via an update at the same day the Prime 4, I assume even Prime 4 Plus launches? If not, are there hardware differences between the two models that would prevent this?
Yeah, so kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but the beta for the stems is on the Prime 4 Plus only. It remains, update to come in the future if it's going to come to other hardware, but for the foreseeable future, it's just for Prime 4 Plus. The hardware is the same, other than those slight changes I mentioned earlier, the DRM chip for Amazon and like the aesthetics. But under the hood, we're talking the same
It's the same CPU. Yep.
Yep.
Are all USB ports exact same version as the original Prime 4, or have they been upgraded?
The USB ports are the same.
They're the same, yeah. Do you know what Bluetooth version you're going to have on the Prime 4 Plus?
The version of Bluetooth, I have no idea.
Probably 5. Should be 5 something.
Yeah, the blue kind.
Let's see what else here. This is an interesting one. We could probably all three of us discuss. Is Denon ever going to have their own DJ software to compete with Serato? Well, we're talking about an all-in-one controller, and they have it. Yeah,
I was gonna say
it just runs on hardware instead of Macs and PCs.
Right.
I mean, are they ever going to have DVS? I mean, that's something I would be interested to see. But from my point of view, I'm happy with Engine being focused on what it's being focused on being a hardware platform.
Right.
So I'm not really looking for that, to be honest. Like, if it came along, I'd certainly be interested. But, I think it's important that they are doing that focus in a lot of ways. I think some of the competition in the past, they've kind of like focused in all different directions, and maybe that's delayed the progress in some areas. And like, actually, if they'd have just focused on this one area more, it would have progressed more quick. I don't know. And I love seeing new things brought out, but like, yeah, I think the direction they're going right now is great with that. I mean, would I like to see that? Just before I got on, I was hearing about some people talking about the Rain 12s, and like, yeah, that would be an interesting idea to get Rain 12s as a control surface for Engine, that kind of thing. But like, there are evolutions that can come to Engine, absolutely. Right. But I think to take away from its core mission of being an embedded OS,
right?
For me, what's the benefit really? Because
well, and Jake, you mentioned that you can access your Engine library over Wi-Fi on a computer, so you've eliminated the laptop, right? Like, you don't need the laptop, and you're not relying on the piece of software that may or may not be stable. So
yep. And like, if you wanted to use the laptop, you could use the Engine remote library if you wanted to. I mean, kind of the same concept. It's originally designed more of a prep, and sorting, but you could just, if you had a home studio and you just wanted to pull it off your iMac or whatever, you totally could do that.
Yep. Or if you're somebody that sets up an ad hoc on an event or whatever. So
yeah.
We're going to do last call for questions. I think we got one more here. Will Engine have RGB wave colors in the future?
I don't know if that's on the roadmap. I haven't heard that, but I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, the nice thing with the Engine UI is it is still color coded, so it's just not RGB.
3-color, yeah.
I had to think what it was then for a minute. I couldn't think in my head. I was like, what actually color is it? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah,
white, green, blue.
White, green, blue.
It's separated. Yeah, it's fine. It's just not RGB. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If it was like plain all one color, that would be no good. But like, yeah, it's separated.
Right.
That's good enough for me.
Right. All right. Well, I think one of the cool things to point out is that this controller is available right now. It's not 60 days out. It's not 90 days out. We've got these in stock. They're ready to ship. Again, a show and sell is fantastic. So we're running a promo that Kevin's got scrolling there at the bottom of the screen. He just popped links into the chat if you're looking at picking one up today. We do have some bundles available with different case options as well. Everybody's standing by to take calls and chats if you're looking to pick one of these up, and get yourself either an upgrade if you're a previous Prime 4 user, or if you're looking to get into the engine ecosystem and get away from, packing that laptop around and having an all-in-one standalone system, it's fully capable for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Last minute question: Serato integration down the road, right?
Yep, upcoming release.
Yep.
You can do the Prime Go at the same time. Thanks. Cheers.
I'll let him know.
I'll never drop that. I'll never drop that ever. I want it on my Prime Go. I love my Prime Go so much. And
so maybe for Christmas, Mojaxx will send you that Akai and a build for Prime Go.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I was just going to pop this up. In the future, is there a possibility of avoiding the need to reboot the whole system when switching between PC, Mac, and internal modes?
So this has been a requested feature, and the engineers are well aware that that's something they want to do. The thing is, you're switching the function essentially.
Right.
I don't claim to be an engineer, but it would be like running Boot Camp and Mac OS on, you're at the same time. So
it's not like you're changing you're not telling the hardware to do something different. You're basically booting a different OS. And that OS has the capability of supporting Serato, Virtual DJ, versus booting up Engine. So, yeah, that's people have been asking about that since 2019, or since Serato support was announced. So,
yeah, yep,
cool. Mojaxx, you like it?
Yeah.
You packing the monster around with you? Have you taken it out?
No, I haven't taken it out. I'm too lazy for that. But I haven't. That's the thing. Like, I was for a little while in the spring. I was doing a gig where I had to take a system, and I was taking the Rain 4 with me. And if I was still doing that gig, I would absolutely be taking the Prime 4 Plus right now. But my current residencies that I've got going, it's turntables and an all-in-one from a competitor. So I'm like, there's no point swapping out stuff, carrying a big thing around when I don't need to. Because
you don't want to be that guy.
Old and weak. Yeah. So.
You're looking good, by the way.
And also, you don't want to be. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Like, you don't want to be the guy coming in and taking out a big all-in-one and putting your own in.
Right. Sorry.
That's not a good look. Yeah.
Sorry.
Just turn everything off a minute. Yeah. Sorry.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah. No. Forget that.
Caesar also said props to Denon DJ for always updating their products. I would agree with that.
Amen.
You guys work your asses off on the Engine software, and it shows. So Engine 3.1 was a huge leap, I think.
Yep. And always open, and we're listening. So don't think we're not. If there's something you really want to see, let us know, and we'll try to work it in if they can. Like day mode, good example. It's been requested over and over, and they finally got it in.
I mean, for me, it's like the boiled frog thing. It's like you don't realize until you take, like say when the Prime 4 Plus came, and then kind of stepped back for a second and looked at. I went back and watched my Prime 4 review from the original launch of the Prime 4, and I was like, this OS has transformed since then. Yeah. There's maybe a dozen massive new features or more that have come to this platform. There is the UI is improved. Everything is improved. The performance is everything is improved. It's a different OS to what it was when the Prime 4 launched. And apart from the stems thing for now, like everything that's on the Prime 4 Plus is also on the Prime 4. You know, yesterday I did update day on all my Denon stuff. So I updated the Prime Go, I updated the 6000Ms, and everything is just completely bang up to date with all these amazing new features, and that will forever be a strength of Engine, and rightly so. You know, brilliant. Love that.
Yep. Totally agree. Well, Mojaxx, thanks for joining us.
Glad I could make it.
Always. Everybody, thank you so much for the questions. Thanks for joining us and watching today. Jake, I think we lost you. Did you lose bandwidth in the shed?
Yeah, there's some bandwidth issues in the shed, but I can still hear you. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you. The shed crashed.
Yeah. So. It's almost hurricane season, so you got to watch out. Thanks for having me, Ty. And Mojaxx, thanks for hopping on. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mojaxx. Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate it. Everybody for watching. Thank you so much. If you want to pick one up, you know where to go.
Thank you.